Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the AAU Iowa Officiating Basics video. We hope you all enjoy the video and that you take a little learning away. The goals of our video today are quite simple. Number one, we want to discuss your role as a parent or a coach who's volunteering to support your local volleyball team as an official over the course of a tournament or a match. We want to go over some of the basic rules that apply to volleyball, and then we're going to show some of the most frequently used hand signals in AAU volleyball as relates to the state of Iowa. Another thing we're going to do is we're going to show some actual examples of some court-based scenarios and how they might apply to some of the signals that you've just learned or have just been refreshed in your memory. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to show a brief example of how to properly do a signal. We're going to give you a video clip of how that signal is actually performed. And then in some cases where applicable, we'll show you some on-court scenarios where the signal following the scenario would have been the signal that you just learned. And hopefully those on-court scenarios give you a real basic idea of what it should look like when you're standing up there on the ref stand. Okay, we're also trying to do this in a way that makes it really easy to understand and that the video can be handled in quick little segments so you don't have to spend 4 or 5 hours in one shot learning this like some other divisions of volleyball do. Instead, we're giving you a really brief, down and dirty piece of information that you can watch over and over again if there are specific things that need refreshed for you. And as always with our videos, if you have questions, feel free to reach out to us because we're all here to help you and support you as an official and as a volunteer. First thing everybody needs to know, number one, you've got this. I don't know how many times over the years I've had the opportunity to run into folks that are officiating their first match and they just don't feel comfortable. Listen, before you get up there on the stand, remember a few basic things. Number one, watch this video, watch a couple others, get a real basic understanding of the rules and the hand signals. And before you take a step up that ladder, keep one thing in mind. Remember, you are human, folks. You're going to make mistakes. Grant yourself a little grace, forgive yourself, and move on to the next play. There are going to be calls from time to time that you miss. You're going to hear parents screaming about those calls. You have to learn to tune them out and focus on your game. Don't wear your emotion on your sleeve. You're there for one purpose, and that is to be consistent, to be calm, gain control of the match, and keep that control. So your demeanor is something that's very, very important. At the beginning of the match, provide clear expectations to those that are helping you officiate. Let your line judges know that you want them to provide their signals very high, out in the open so you can see it. Tell them to be confident in their decisions. Keep in mind, this is AAU volleyball. We're trying to build confidence and skills in these groups of young ladies and young men. And we want to give them the opportunity to make their calls. So as calls come up over the course of the game, pause for a second, check your line judges. It's always a great idea, even if you know the ball is clearly in, look to them and let them know that that signal that they're giving you means something. Let them know that it matters. Let them know that you're paying attention to the calls that they're making because that reinforces them making the call and paying attention every time. It's something that you really need to do as an official and as a parent who wants to continue building the confidence of these young folks. Help folks learn from their mistakes. The middle of the match is generally not the time for us to be providing that corrective action unless for some reason it's more of a disciplinarian scenario. Otherwise, let's make and provide that correction at the end of a match or at the end of the set to our line judges, unless it's a scenario where we have an infraction by an opposing coach or things of that nature that must be addressed at that time. Keep in mind, lead by example. That means when you are coaching, when you are on the sidelines, do not sit there and berate the ref. Do not sit there and berate that young lady or young man that is doing the line judging. They're doing the best they can. They're doing the best that they've been trained to do. Lead them by example. Don't teach them to emulate behaviors that they're going to use later in life that are probably not going to be effective in their careers or in their relationships. So you stay calm when you're on the sidelines, follow the rules, ask respectful questions, but by all means, treat people with the same respect that you expect to be treated with when you're up on the stands. Lead by example. Okay. One of the first rules that I want to go over, and you won't hear me talk throughout the entire video because a lot of this stuff is um, better seen through actual on-court videos, is really the in versus out call. I don't know how many times um, being a paid official, I've gotten the eye rolls from parents or hear the screaming from parents or coaches. It was in, it was out, and how many times I've actually had to provide these volunteers or professionals instruction after the fact about what actually is in or out. Unlike football and other sports, if a ball touches a line in volleyball, folks, it's in. It can touch any portion of the line. It can touch the inside portion of the line, as we see in this picture. But if that ball was rolled an inch and a half to the left and it was touching the outside of the line, it's still in. Keep in mind when you're up there officiating, folks on the other side of the court probably don't have the best angle to see that. And in some cases, you don't have the best angle. Let's train our little line judges to pay very careful attention to the lines, get down low if they need to, look at the lines, and call it like they see it. Again, just like the previous slide, we want to continue building these young folks' confidence. Some of the other basics as relates to Iowa AAU volleyball are as follows. Number one, we do not allow jewelry to be worn during a match. Some other divisions of volleyball do, but we do not in Iowa AAU. The only exception to that is if someone has a medical condition and needs to wear a medical bracelet, we're certainly going to allow that. When it comes to uniforms, they need to have numbers centered in the front and rear of the uniform. No tie-dye jerseys are accepted in Iowa AAU. Also, the libero jersey must be easily recognizable from all other jerseys. Any contact with the net, the cables, or antenna in AAU volleyball is a fault. The only exception to this is if the contact is made by a player's hair. Now, I have had dozens and dozens, as most of us have had, scenarios over the course of my officiating lifetime where people get upset when you call net infractions. Let me make this abundantly clear to everyone who's listening. A net violation isn't about being nitpicky, folks. When a player comes in contact with the net, it can be a significant safety issue for that player or a player on the other side of the net. The last thing we ever want to have happen is one of these young ladies get clotheslined by a net or run into somebody else and cause a serious injury because we decided to be lax on our net calls. Feel confident when you make a net call that you're doing so, not to control the outcome of the match, but to keep the safety of these players in the front of your mind at all times. Next one, service. Once you have beckoned for the player to serve, the player has 5 seconds to serve. Now, that does not mean we count out that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Typically, the way we do this is we'll count it out in our heads 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004. And by the time I get to 1004, my eyebrows are probably raised a little bit and I'm thinking, please serve, please serve, please serve. You might make that 1005 count last a half second longer. Most of the time, these players are going to take care of it and get their serves in at that period of time. I would warn a player at some point if it's looking excessive. But generally, they've got 5 seconds to serve, and once I've warned a player, I would let them know the next time they go to serve. If they take more than 5 seconds, I am going to blow a whistle. Most of the time, they pay attention at that point. Centerline violations. In AAU volleyball, a centerline violation looks like this. A player can, at any point in time during the act of playing, touch a part of their foot or a part of their hand on the other team's court. If they do so, the other part of their foot or part of their hand absolutely must remain on the line or above the center line. If at any point the foot or the hand fully crosses the line, they've committed a center line violation, and we should whistle, award a point to the other team, and signify that a center line violation has occurred. Most of our other items are going to be described through our signal training and video clips, and I hope everybody truly enjoys the training that we're going to provide to you today. The AAU Iowa does recognize National Federation of High Schools official hand signals. So here's an example of what they look like. We'll provide a link from the AAU website to these hand signals, but this is just kind of a visual representation of what they look like. And now we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of this video, and I hope you're able to learn something. What we see here is the center left before the serve was actually contacted by the server. When this happens, an illegal alignment has occurred, and we must make the illegal alignment call. The important thing for us as officials is to make sure that we are 100% certain that that player left ahead of the hit. And in the case of this particular video, we can easily see that that center has gone well past the right player or the right front row player before the ball was contacted. Things to remember about the center line is if the foot is on or over the center line, it is not a violation. Now, if a foot is all the way across the center line, it is in fact a violation. Same holds true for the hand. If it's on the center line, it's not a violation. Or over. Once it fully crosses the center line, it is a violation. Now, one thing that often happens is a player starts out and they're not in violation, but then they turn their foot and pivot, and it then becomes a violation. This next clip, we're going to see another clear indication of a caught and thrown ball. This is yet another illegal hit. Watch what happens in the lower right-hand corner of the screen as the ball comes back over the net. They get a great dig. Good pass. Boom. Carry right there. That is prolonged contact with that player's hand, and understand that these folks are playing at a very high level. So that shows that these types of violations happen across the board. Watch it in slow motion. Clean set. Clean hit. Very nice job popping that ball up over. Watch this carry. Prolonged contact. In this next clip, we're going to have a clear reach over violation. If you watch the center on the left, she's going to come over the top of the net, come in contact with the ball prior to the player on the right being able to make a play on the ball, thus interfering with the contact. The entire plane of the ball, you'll note, is on the attacking team's side. Let's watch. Here we have the serve. Center comes over the top. Ref makes the call. Let's go back and let's try to watch this in slow motion. Here comes my center. Hands all the way over the top. The ball is right there. And we have a clear violation. All right, pay very careful attention in this next video to the double hit. You can see the ball's coming across. Got a nice pass. Oh, did you see that one hand making contact first before the second one? Watch it in slow motion. Left hand, then the right hand. While a lot of people will tell you as referees that you should be calling the rotation, the simple reality is you have to see the double contact as the referee in order to make a double contact call. There are times in life when a side to side spin can take place, but in the case of this particular video clip, as we back it up just a little bit, what we can see in slow motion is one touch, two touch. While that is what causes the rotation, that's ultimately what causes the fault. So I hope that this helps clarify a little bit about what a double contact could be in volleyball, in addition to numerous other more obvious ways that double contacts happen. As we close out the video today, let's keep a few things in mind. Number one, we're all human. We're all going to make mistakes on the court. We're doing the best we can, and we're ultimately doing this for the kids. I appreciate the fact that you've watched the videos today and that you're coming to learn a little bit more about the signals and the rules associated with volleyball. There are a lot of really helpful videos online with really specific instruction that goes into far more detail than we did today on specific aspects of the rules. As always, Diane, Teresa, myself, and others are always willing to help you out, whether we're at a tournament or you want to send us an email. Again, thanks so much. Let us know if you need anything, and have an awesome volleyball season.